again has finished its first season on Disney Plus, and as a point of reference, I think the original Daredevil show is maybe possibly my favorite comic book show of all time. So I was always going to be incredibly excited for this. Seeing Charlie Cox leading his own show as the Man Without Fear once again is enough to get me waiting week to week for the latest episode, and I liked this season, I really did. But if I were to put it up against the original 3 seasons of the show, this would quite evidently be the weakest one. The season feels as if it kind of shifted the focus more on Matt's day-to-day life, as we get to see more of his less important clients, like that one guy that stole a bunch of cereal, I believe, which was like episode 3 or 4, rather than having like there be a central focus throughout everything. Fisk's reign, as he is mayor now, is prevalent throughout the show, no doubt, but like it wasn't nearly as big of a threat as I would have expected until way later into the show. The biggest offense this show does, in my opinion, is completely butchering and wasting arguably one of Daredevil's coolest rivals from the comics, Muse. Spoilers ahead, by the way, but just killing Muse after we learned about who he was as a person like 5 minutes beforehand was a really dumb decision. Not to mention that he was hyped up in the promotion for this show as if he was the main antagonist of the series, which he definitely is not. For him to only have like 2, maybe 3 fight sequences with Daredevil in the comics, I heard there's a storyline where he like comes back to life, and I really expected that to happen in this show. Maybe in the finale, maybe in the penultimate episode, but it just didn't, which is a massive bummer considering the potential that the character has. He's already one of the most wasted villains in the entire MCU, man. Like, what a disappointment. The show just does so much setup, but doesn't have enough payoff as it should. When the show is good, it's fantastic. There are some really banger episodes in this show, but I just wish it was more consistent with its quality, because the amount of stuff it's trying to cover in one single season of television, it gets so insane that it really didn't need that one filler episode. I think it was episode 6 with the bank, like the bank break-in. I love that episode, by the way. It's one of my favorites of the whole show, but it just felt so out of place because of the amount of stuff this show was trying to cover. It needed the spare time. I don't know why it took time to give us like a filler episode. Now, actually moving on to some of the specific positives, I absolutely loved how helpless the city of New York feels in this. It gets to a point where I was like beyond confused why Spider-Man wasn't stepping in. I'm talking about the canonical reason, obviously, because we all know Sony is annoying and doesn't allow Marvel to use Spidey in anything. Hector Ayala, the White Tiger, was fantastic for the amount of time he was in this show, and I felt as if his murder was not only crucial to Matt's arc in this show, but like also to show the audience how corrupt the government really is. One thing that I really liked about the show is how the look of it got better and better as the show went on. The lighting and editing in the first, let's say, 4-ish episodes was a bit disastrous, to put it lightly. There's one fight scene in the second episode with Matt in an apartment building, and it had like 1 billion cuts per second that it got so distracting I couldn't even enjoy it. The second to last episode of the show is definitely the best looking one in my opinion, specifically everything to do with the gala, the dance sequence that happens towards the end of episode 8. Matt putting away the mask for like the 45,000th time in the MCU can feel a bit repetitive, as Daredevil in the suit is like barely in this season. Matt's return to the suit felt a bit rushed, and that felt so odd considering that was like the core of the character arc that Matt Murdock goes through in this season. So just having him go back in the suit just magically at the end of 5 or 6 was a bit out of place. That is part of his character arc, and so is Foggy's death, which I'm still not sure how I feel about. It was trying to be a shocking sequence, and it more than succeeded in that, because it was shocking for sure. Everybody was talking about it, and it worked in being an emotional hook, but on a story level, I still don't know what to think about it. What I will say is that I fully expected Foggy to be alive at the end. I get that Matt heard his, heart stopped beating, and there was a funeral for him and everything, but like, there's a comic book, I believe, where Vanessa tortures Foggy for years but keeps him alive, and that is exactly what I thought was going to happen in this show. Frank Castle makes his MCU return, and I'm like 99.9% sure that he's getting some sort of Disney Plus special next year, so he obviously wasn't going to get killed in this finale. But when he got shot a few times, I genuinely got worried for my guy. But yeah, John Bernthal, fantastic as ever. I really like that post-credit scene featuring him breaking out. Yeah, I loved him. I love a lot of his scenes that he got in the final episode. The best part of the finale for me was easily that Radiohead needle drop with Daredevil doing like a Robert Pattinson Batman type monologue to the city of New York. That entire scene just reeked of pure aura and sets up the second season of the show incredibly well. What I did not expect from the final episode of this season was the kind of somber and distressing ending that the season gets. Fisk and Vanessa win and Matt loses. Also, kind of need to touch on the commissioner's death in this final episode, because Fisk rips his face in half with his bare hands in maybe the most gruesome and violent scene in the entire MCU, and it caught me so off guard. Overall, the first season of Daredevil Born Again was pretty good. Not quite the masterpiece I was expecting and hoping for, but it was good. I had a good time with it, and I'm gonna miss it.